Welcome back to another edition of Stories with Mr. Ahamad. Thank you so much for joining me here in my home. It's always a pleasure to have you here listening to me talk about books. Now, while it may not seem like it, since I spend so much time on social media talking about books, I actually hated reading growing up. That's not entirely true. I hated books. Anything that was a novel, don't give it to me. But I loved comic books, and comic books actually acted as a way for me to enter into reading and start to build my relationship. There was just something so cool about being able to see the story and having less exposition and having all that action and seeing the facial expressions and actually having the things right there in front of you. Plus, the art was always dope. So with that, I came across something that everyone has to read, and it is Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer by David Crownson. This comic is so good. Now, I know it's not too long. It's from a Kickstarter campaign. There are 4 issues available right now, but I was only able to come across 3 of them, so I got like the first arc in, and it was amazing. Each issue has a different artist, but it builds on the story and the history of Harriet Tubman, the things that she has done in the past, and it brings it into a space where, yes, you get commentary on those things, but it makes Harriet Tubman such an amazing character because she's a martial artist with 2 katanas, a couple of stakes, a bow and arrow, and she's just amazing. Each issue is illustrated by a different comic book artist within the comic book industry, so you know the quality is great. It depicts Harriet Tubman doing what she does best, which is rescuing African Americans from plantations and freeing them by leading them up north. She meets this one family in the first arc, and they have to take on a band of vampires disguised as slave patrol officers, and it is so action-packed. It reminded me a lot of Michonne in The Walking Dead. It reminded me a lot of Jin in Ghost of Tsushima, how she was going from treetop to treetop, just slaying dudes with her katana. It was incredible. And at the end of the arc, we get this foreshadowing that there are also werewolves. Now, we don't know why they're vampires, we don't know why they're werewolves, but we do know that they are racist and they like to throw the N-word around, which prompts Harriet Tubman to jump in there and kick some tail. She is out there slaying demons left and right, and it is so cool to see this hero within African American history and culture be honored by having this fictionalization of her that pays attention to the historical context of what she comes from while building upon it to make it accessible and enjoyable and exciting. Because if, you know, we can have Abraham Lincoln be a vampire hunter, or if we can tell these other stories of wartime heroes and generals and paint them in the best light, why can't we do the same for our African American heroes, such as Harriet Tubman? This is so incredible, it looks good, it reads good, and I really hope there is more to be offered later on. What's so interesting about this Kickstarter project is not only did it get great reviews from the media outlets that have taken a look into it, but the way that Crownson came up with this idea of making Harriet Tubman this ninja demon slayer is also really interesting.
One day I'm just watching TV and it's this Harriet Tubman documentary that comes on. So I'm like watching it, I'm like, all right, cool, Harriet Tubman, this is dope, I love it. I start channel surfing and I stumble upon Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I'm watching that, movie ends, and then, again, more channel surfing, and I stumble upon Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Now, child, test the oven and see if it is hot enough.
Later on that night, I'm just, I had a journal, and I was journaling all day, and journaling my whole experiences being in Ghana. And after like 3 pages of stream of conscious journaling, 3 things popped up when I looked back at the page, and it's Harriet Tubman, katana ninja fight scene, and witch hunters, and they all just jump at me, and then I'm just like, Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer!
For me, I love action movies. movies. And as of late, I'm way into history. So to get those two things like merged together in this comic, it's like a win-win situation. Considering that Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer isn't that long and that it's fully accessible on Comixology, which is how I read it, it's a digital thing, right? Is that you can bring this into the classroom. And when you bring it into the classroom, you can pair it with so many different things so that you can converse not only about Harriet Tubman, but the times that she came from. First and foremost, what we gotta address is Kanye West.
When Harriet Tubman never actually freed the slaves. She just had the slaves go work for other white people.
Y'all, we leaving right now.
Now, I know Kanye has been known as a musical genius, and I love Kanye, you know, but dude's way out of pocket. Harriet Tubman is a hero of heroes. Like, she has done so much, and, you know, yeah, there is the thing that, like, oh, Emancipation Proclamation and oh, Juneteenth, but look, Harriet Tubman led those Africans who were enslaved in the South to a better future. Yes, it was still hard, but you can't deny the fact that she really put numbers on the board in terms of rescuing people who were in need, who were suffering. And she did it so many times when she could have just, you know, been okay with rescuing herself. But nope, she went back because she had a greater purpose. So when we look at the things that Kanye said,
slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years and it's all of y'all? You know, like, it's like we're mentally in prison. I like the word prison because slavery goes too direct to the idea of blacks. It's like slavery, Holocaust Jews, slavery is blacks. So prison is something that unites us as one race, blacks and whites being one race. That we're the human race.
And we look at the things that Harriet Tubman did, we really need to ask our students, or to at least have them express themselves, where does Kanye get off with saying that? The second thing that you can do is that you can bring in the most recent Harriet Tubman movie that was released in either 2019 or 2020.
You got lucky, Harriet.
I made it this far on my own, so don't you tell me what I can't do.
Harriet, welcome to the Underground Railroad. Everybody, everywhere is looking for you.
God don't mean people to own people. Find this thief and burn her at the stake.
Now, here is my issue with that movie, is that I understand that the idea was to create a movie about slavery and freedom that you can watch with like preteens or early teenagers, something that was low in violence. But let's think about what that does, because when you watch this movie, there's no sense of urgency, there's no danger. And really, if you're removing the danger from Harriet Tubman's story, then you're not being true or honest to the story. That is not an authentic story. Harriet Tubman had to travel in the dark, in the freezing cold, and you know, chances are she had to come across wildlife, and she had to forage for food. She had to do all of this, and she did it a number of times. Throughout the movie, other than a montage where it just seems like they were running off the plantations, there was no real sense of danger. So if we're really going to be honest about this history, and if we're going to pay homage to the things that Harriet Tubman has done, that needs to be included. And I guess the question that you would ask the students then is that, you know, at what point do we decide to sanitize violence to get a point across? Or at what point is it okay to adjust the story so that people can read it and experience it? At what point would it have been too much if we chose to include that violence? Would it have been too traumatic? Or is that trauma necessary as part of the story because that was the time period, and that was what prompted Harriet Tubman to do the things that she did. She was on that, give me liberty or give me death, and she didn't want to be captured. Like, no one would be in control of her freedom. But there was an urgency to that. There was things that she experienced, her and her people, that led her to do those things. If we take that part out, is it authentic enough? Is it being honest to her story? Thirdly, Harriet Tubman and the Demon Slayer, obviously historical fiction, right? But we want students thinking about how is it that they can honor the historical time period in its context while fictionalizing it for an audience. So I think it would be important to include, any biographies about Harriet Tubman, anything that you can get about her writing or experience, because that will allow them to understand where the line is between, educating and entertainment. I think that's a really good thing to do. Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer is such a good time. It's fun to read, it's action-packed, it's well illustrated, and you can use it as a gateway to talking about American slavery or to just focusing on Harriet Tubman. And if you're questioning it because it's a comic, I really think the thing that we should be considering as teachers is that anything that gets a student to read is good for the simple sake that they're reading. And reading comes in many different forms. There's so many different kinds of literacy now, between social media, comic books, movies, video games, and just regular old books, right? Everything is written in a different way, and comprehension differs for each of those. So let's try to expand those ideas. Let's not be so rigid in what we put in front of our students, and try to engage them in different ways, because we need this to make reading enjoyable for them. And with all that said, you should definitely check out Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. Go out, get it on Comixology, go order it from Amazon, get it from a local comic book shop. Do something, just make sure you read it.